these two words, law versus justice. Uh, when we talk about child laws or when we talk about labor laws, how different it is that a kid who's working as a domestic help at someone's place, and I think the age limit is 14, and family sponsoring their education, and they want them to work. They're making their kids work as well, doing the house chores, and then they're making this kid work as well. Of course, the responsibilities are much high, but when this kid has exams, everyone divides the chore and they ask this kid to focus on exams. On the contrary, when rich people send out their kids for uh, ads or there's a lot going on social media as well. There's nobody to say anything about that. How is this just or how is this fair?
Agree, 110%. The
Okay, a
laws,
catastrophe. A
the
catastrophe is
laws,
about to happen. Rajan is agreeing
the
to what
laws
I'm
are meant
saying.
for, as they say, the laws are meant for poor people, not for rich people. So,
Very, very
so,
well
so,
said, Rajiv.
so the justice, it is not just. I agree, and this is something that, it should be case by case basis. If, let's say, a child labor, if there are cases where, there's a boy or a girl, and they willingly want to work because they are the sole breadwinner of the house. For whatever reasons, there are cases. A lot of them are, similar cases. And then, as per law, you cannot employ them. So essentially, what you're doing is you're depriving the entire family of a livelihood. One, people will say, "Oh, you can always, give charity. You can adopt the family and all that." But in my view, that is not correct because you are then robbing the family and the child of dignity. When you
Very well
give,
said. Yes.
right?
And when you
So,
help, hmm, yeah, and when you help a person, it can really affect their dignity or pride that, okay, am I not
yes,
good enough? Why do I need this help? I can
yes,
do it by myself.
yeah. Not only that, it is simply also around, the person will feel in the beginning as something that is not good, obviously, because nobody wants, you know, people don't normally don't want charity. So what happens is that the child, or in the beginning, when society or anybody is given charity, the first your dignity and pride will get hurt that, hey, I am worth it. I can do something on my own. Don't throw money at me. But then after a certain while, it will become an entitlement. And
Right.
then it becomes a downward spiral because you actually are actually impacting the self-esteem and the self-respect of an individual and a family. So, but on the other hand, like you said, the parents use their children for social media. There are like tons and tons of the clips that that are shared by parents just for garnering more likes, votes, whatever it is. That's also exactly. Uh, I would say it is considered. It should be considered as labor, child labor, because you may start with a very innocent intent, but when you see you know a million likes, then you will start asking your child to do some funny things, and then you will send them to reality shows, and then you have totally screwed up your child's life. And I would say that the parents who encourage their children to go to children reality shows, are the worst culprit. And even the sponsors, I would say, even the sponsor, they should be actually, they should be taken into account of child labor laws. And that is not opportunity that they claim that they are, providing opportunity to talent, But there's the age, if you have decided that age 14 or 16 or whatever it is the right age beyond the child can decide, whether to work or not work, then it should apply everywhere, whether it is in, movies, it is in, whatever industry. So, or there should be a way for exemption. If a movie requires a child in the movie, right? So similarly, a household should be given an exemption that, hey, I have a genuine case where we have adopted this family, but we don't want to rob them of their dignity and their pride. So we will give household chores to the child. So the law, see, this is where the law versus justice comes in. The law, if there's a law, it should be the same across all platforms, all situations, everywhere. Only then it is just. If it is selectively applied, then there is no justice.
So is law inherently like why and why not?
Yeah, because this was a discussion just happening at our house, lately half an hour ago. When I told them that our today's topic is law versus justice, then a lot of things started happening. So
Yeah, you are being unjust to me always.
yes, or whatever. And my position has always been that you cannot legislate human behavior. If you try to legislate human behavior, you will never be able to bring justice. You will be able to apply laws, yes, but you will not be able to bring justice. And that's human nature. So you can say that it is inherent in human nature. And I'm reminded of Lao Tzu, who was the great philosopher, Chinese philosopher, and he I think said once that the more laws in a society, the more corrupt is the society. So I agree. I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, and if I look historically, uh, so there is law and then there is a moral law. If I look historically, and
Morality, yeah, yeah, yeah.
if I talk about Mahatma Gandhi, who was himself such an accomplished lawyer, and if I talk about Martin Luther King, if they have not broken the law
Hmm.
or just say tweak the law, just being politically correct, if they have not tweaked the law, then I don't know where would have been and what we would have been
Yeah,
doing. I mean,
yeah. That actually is a good point, and that actually goes to exactly what I was trying to say, that you cannot legislate human behavior by laws. So if Gandhi, MLK, or even the women who fought against or broke the laws in those times against voting, against whatever,
education,
so
voting, yeah.
education, everything, right? So it is when public, breaks the laws, certain laws, and they end up benefiting the society as such. I think that is justice. Even though it's a paradox, right? So and this is where the conundrum is that the politicians would try to want to bring as many laws as possible. There's a very uh, interesting saying in communism, or was, I don't know whether it is still there or not, that if you are still living and breathing, you have certainly broken the law. The only thing is that we have to find which one. And that's where you would see happening in societies where we have a lot of laws. Today, if you are in a place, even US or India, I can go and dig anybody's past or current living, and I can identify at least one law that we have broken. It can be as menial as like what you were talking about, the child labor. A child coming in, and we our own child. you go and say, oh, yeah, you do this. We call that household chores.
Yeah.
But by law, you
Yeah,
know,
I get a lot of beating on that okay, this is child
yeah,
labor and you cannot make me. This is slavery. That's the next
yes,
level when
yeah,
the kind
that
of
like
so
it,
yeah,
it
I
is
get
it
that
is a
left, right, and center.
yes, so it is. So now the thing is that how do we the balancing act around, are the laws just, and how do we focus on justice rather than bringing more laws?
And
That I think
we
is a very
yes,
important
and
discussion.
we look at things which are cheap at price or uh, less money, more value. But now there are carpets, and now there are things which come with a tag that no child labor was used for making this carpet
But
or
who has
making this
verified?
particular.
Has
Who is
anybody verified?
verified?
Right?
No, no.
Nobody, right? We
Like
just
it's
take
it's
it.
the same thing. No animal cruelty, nothing
Yeah,
happened. But who's there to
yeah,
verify that? And
yeah.
then
No,
that
no,
idea
no
crosses
animal
your mind.
cruelty. Once you eat meat.
Sometimes.
No, like what do you think that they were hugging the animals and saying, "Okay, please die. I want to eat you." No, they were slaughtering them in the slaughterhouse. It's simply that because you do not see it. What about plants? Do you eat vegetables?
No,
They
but
just
again, if you
simply pluck them out of you pluck them out of the trees and everything. So
no, if
every
we
any living thing.
no, even if you eat plant or plant-based food, there are a lot of pesticides which are sprayed on them. So it's not like that you're not taking away any life. You leave about that, okay, they don't breathe, they don't have veins or blood or anything.
You're
Different discussion
breathing,
altogether.
you're killing at least 10 billion bacteria in every breath.
So I mean, different topic of discussion altogether.
I
But
know.
yeah,
No,
we are
but this
talking
is
about
yeah, I know. The law versus justice. If let's say there's a law around, cruelty, you talked about cruelty, then it should be applied to, what kind of animal cruelty. And then it should be applied to even, slaughterhouses. It should be also applied to plant-based cruelty because you are, you know, plucking them, you're chopping them, you're cutting them. It's cruelty against plant. They're living beings. So justice and law are two different things, and the problem becomes where we assume that the laws are meant for justice. No,
no,
they are meant
no.
to control the social behavior.
Oh, I thought it's just a way of creating more employment. Two brothers will fight. One will one will lose the case, one will win the case, and it's always like that.
Yeah,
Another
that's
one will
another
win
thing.
that.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
lawyers, yeah,
yeah. But
like
then
in the US, there's a saying that the lawyers run the country because there's so many laws.
and is there a reconciliation between law? Like we reconcile everything, balance sheet, time sheet, whatever comes our way, we reconcile. Is there a way we can reconcile the law versus justice? And then there are cases where you were like, okay, this law was understandable back then, but now it does not hold any value and we should upgrade. But is there any
And that,
reconciliation
yeah,
that,
yeah,
yeah,
there's no expiry date of a law. That's the problem.
that's absolutely the most ridiculous thing that we don't upgrade, we don't look into it, we don't see that, okay, this was fair. Okay, this happened when you know in back in 70s or 60s, but now this law does not make
Whenever
any
I
sense.
think the law, all laws should by
And
default expire in 25 years, and they should be revised every 25 years. That's my personal opinion.
so there was a law of single child in China, and today
Yeah,
China is in huge problem because of that.
almost all
Huge problem.
countries.
Almost all countries. But yes, I mean, now they are saying that, okay, we are taking away that law. You can have as many kids as you
You've
want.
already,
But now,
it's
but
already
now
too
people are
late.
like, it's not that we have to, just have a kid. We have to raise them as well, and it is very expensive. And if you look at China, one person is looking after his wife parents, and his parents. So
Hmm.
that one person is And if they have a kid, then they have to look after that kid as well. So
Yes.
there was a law,
The cost of
and
living has gone up. So
that was always there. That you always felt that okay, there's a lot of inflation and cost of living is high. No matter what era you talk about, everyone is always crying that cost of living is all-time high.
yeah.
So
And
that
it
will
will keep going up. And there's the intent
it will
behind it,
keep,
or it's
yeah.
intentional or unintentional. That is how, the what you call as the economic cycles happen and the social cycles happen. So yeah, and there will be swings between becoming too much on left versus right and all that. But I think the too many laws versus too little laws, whether the laws bring justice or they promote injustice, it's going to be a very, very big debate all the time.
All the time. And then when we talk about justice, injustice, when you make women law stronger, then men suffer. And
Yes,
there's a lot of cry about that, you're making women strong. Tell me one law which is not being misused. One law.
yes.
But when we
No,
talk about women laws, then there is an outrageous reaction that, okay, this law will be misused. Tell me one law which is not being misused.
agreed, agreed. But the main thing is that, where does the most abuse of the law happens? So, and this is where the vicious cycle is that, we the government creates a law because they think that a particular social problem needs to be legislated or solved through legislation. And now, another problem crops up, and now they want to bring another law on top of it. So what happens is that it is patchwork after patchwork after patchwork, and it becomes so complicated, exactly on the same line that now there's so many laws that if you're living and breathing, you have definitely broken the law. And then when that happens, then the society doesn't care about laws because they think, hey, anyway, it's so screwed up. Why should I
Yeah.
bother?
Yeah,
So
and
then,
this,
then the social unrest becomes, so then it becomes, it's like, in India, right? The corruption is so ingrained into the society that people don't even think that's a corruption.
yes. Now,
They
now
think,
the
hey,
notion
this
is,
is the way of life. So if
yeah,
you want to do anything in India, but the thing is, if you sit back and reflect and say it happened in the last 20, 40 years or 50 years, it was not like this before that. That means that something happened in the last 50 years and we have become so corrupt. Now that means we can, do something to not become corrupt. But that cannot be done through legislation. That can only be done through social awareness and people actually participating. People saying that, hey, I would rather not have, you know, the results of a corrupt action than participate in corruption. So, or, I would, let's say, men or women, like the, recent cases happened around the divorce and other thing. If the woman or the man says, well, I don't want to get into mess, I'm not going to get married. But nobody will do that. If I were there, I would say, so essentially what will happen is that the young generation will get discouraged from having a very positive marital relationship because there are 10,000 laws hanging on their head and everybody is watching everybody. And then there are people around them who are instigating, hey, this should not be happening. You are being, you know, misused or whatever. It's because there are laws, right? So now there are laws. Now people will try to legislate the behavior. The same thing happens like we talked about the child labor and all that stuff. So it is something that I think the people have to reflect on themselves. The government, the politicians are a reflection of the society that they are leading. And the politicians bring in the laws because the society wants them.
Same thing. This case happened in Gujarat, one of the very rich state in India. Alcohol was banned. You think people
Yes.
don't consume alcohol in Gujarat?
No, they do. But the only thing is the moment it was the same thing that happened in US in prohibition era, right? The most corruption happened, the mafia and the corruption gained ground during prohibition era because the the normal behavior of society now was going against the law that was being passed. And this is where going back to what Lao Tzu has said that the more laws, the more corrupt a society. That is exactly what he meant. That because when the laws are not in harmony of the society, then this is what happens. The corruption happens. Same thing with the another state I know, Bihar. Recently, over the last maybe 5-10 years, they became what they call a dry state. Suddenly, all the politicians are getting rich, all the mafia is getting rich because people will consume alcohol. So why bring in a law that is against the normal behavior of the society? Yes. Does it mean that you encourage? No. That means that you need to focus more on educating the society, the harmful effects of whatever, alcohol, smoking, or the marital harmony and all that. So spend the resources on educating and uplifting at a social level rather than trying to legislate the behavior. Because the moment the legislation goes away, the behavior has not been modified and the society will get back to where it was before the laws came in. And this is where the law versus justice comes in.
No, point why I want to bring in here is we're talking about alcohol. In one state, it is banned. In other state, it's like duty-free, excise-free. That's we're talking about India. If my understanding is correct, in some states in US, drugs are legal. It's legal to do drugs.
Same thing happened. Exactly.
And that is something you don't want to be legalized. Even if someone has to pay 10 times the price, let them pay.
Actually,
but it should not be legalized.
No, I have a different opinion on that.
Okay.
I think the government has no right to dictate the people how they want to live their life. Individual life. If I, as an individual, want to ruin my life with drugs, so be it. The only thing the government can do is that they need to focus on the cartels. You see, what happens is the moment you ban drugs, like you ban alcohol, it's the same philosophy plays.
I'll come to that. Yes, please go ahead. Finish your point.
So what happens is that the moment you ban something, a cartel forms because you have not changed the society. Now, you have not educated the people on the harmful effects of alcohol, drugs, or whatever it is. So, but the people want to consume it. The people are still stuck to whatever the choices they want to make. So, non-intervention of government in public life is something that has been proven, in multiple philosophers and even economic. This thing is that if your laws are in harmony with how the society normally behaves, you will have less number of criminals, and you will be able to spend more effort and money on uplifting or educating the masses rather than trying to legislate them.
This is going to become little heated, and I want to bring in a point. There is a drug addict, okay, and they don't know what they're doing. They're having kids.
But no, let me stop you.
No.
Before I want to ask you, why did the person become an addict? Nobody's born a drug addict, unless that's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm trying to say. All
Okay,
I'm trying
so
to say
so tell
that
me,
if you say that every individual holds their responsibility, if I want to ruin my
yes,
life,
no,
government should not intervene. If one person wants to ruin his life, okay. Now that person is making a girl pregnant, and he will drift away
no,
nicely.
but
And that
here's
has
my
happened
question.
because I've seen that. I have seen
Yes,
that.
so
And the point is,
my
no,
no no
no,
wait,
no, no,
so
no.
very
I'll
good.
just no, no, no,
Let
no,
me ask you
no,
the
no,
let me
no,
ask you
no,
the
no,
question.
no. You can hold on to your question and
Okay,
let me finish.
I will hold on to my question.
Yes, yes. Hold on to the question. And then who will become responsible? Who will take responsibility of that kid? Poor
The girl.
taxpayers. Nobody
I
else.
no
Girl
no
will take care. That is there, but she can very well, she can also
I'll tell you
leave it
why.
at a
I'll
foster
tell you
care
why.
and all.
No,
So
why when the girl fell in love or had sex with this drug addict, did she not know?
she
Was
knew,
she
she did
forced?
not know. That I don't know. All I'm trying to
So,
say is
but
that
see,
I
that's
have
the
seen
question do we need to
cases,
ask? There are
I have seen
two questions I
cases,
would ask. So I want
one
to ask two
mom
questions.
having 6 kids, one mom having 6 kids, and all the dads are different. She can very well leave the kids, or if they're going to public school, who is bearing the burden
So
of
no, so
his education?
two different things.
Again, these are all correlated, and all I'm
No,
trying
they
to
are
say
not. No,
is
let's talk about one
okay,
first. No,
okay,
the first case that you said. My two questions around that.
okay.
One, why did the child, the man or boy or whatever, become drug addict? That's the first question we need to ask. Not after the drug addict, the person has already become an addict, right? So there are reasons why people fall into addiction.
There
It's
can be
not that people.
multiple things,
So
Rajiv.
yes, yes, I agree.
It
I
can be
agree. I
curiosity. It can be
Yes,
curiosity. It can be
yes.
you're escaping from something. It can be a
So there,
simple
so
peer
we need to.
pressure.
See, it is. Here's the deal, right? In US, it is often stated. I don't know how true it is that almost everybody has tried drugs, but you don't see everybody as a drug addict. Less than 5 to 7% people actually become addicts who have tried drugs. Less than five people who five. It's a statistical norm that I think people can come and tell me whether I'm right or wrong. You know, how many of us have alcohol? How many of us become addicted to alcohol? How many of us smoke? So there is a particular you know a combination of things that creates addicts, and that person will be addicted to sugar, to cookies, to donuts, whatever you give. It is not whether you replace cigarettes with donuts or gulab jamun or whatever. So the main thing is that the mindset of being an addict will be there. The question is how do we make sure that rather than bringing legal and this thing, because now what you're doing is you're pushing, one, you're making people criminal. Second, you are pushing this into drug cartels because now they see there's a lot of money to be made. If I can go as of today, before marijuana became legal in the US, many states, it's not that it was not being sold, it was still being sold, but at a very high price, one, and second, very adulterated because there are consumers, so there's something to be sold. Now, people are getting marijuana of a much higher quality at a much lesser price because it is legalized. But there were more than 1 million people, or I don't know what the right, number is, but thousands, I would say, people who were in the jail because they were caught selling marijuana. Biden pardoned those who are 10 or 50,000 or I don't know how many people because now it is legal to sell marijuana. So what has happened is, but has the addiction gone up? No. Has the rate of consumption of marijuana gone up? No. No, alcohol is sold everywhere in in the states where it is sold in India versus dry states. has the consumption of, or has the addiction, alcoholic addiction has gone up? No, I think it is more in states where it is prohibited. And that's where I think the law versus justice comes in, that we are not being we are not being just to human beings, to the society. We are bringing laws to try to change the behavior, right? The second example you were giving, one woman having 6 children from 6 different fathers. I don't see there's anything wrong with that. It is a woman's choice,
No, there's
and it
nothing
is
wrong. No. There's nothing wrong in it. All I was trying to say was that men, they just drift away very easily. They don't
okay.
feel that
So,
accountability
but then
that
the
that kid
question
is
is
mine
that
and
is the woman so stupid, knowing that behavior after one person, and still having a second child with another man, and
that
thinking
was
that
under the influence.
so
That happened under influence. It did not happen when she was not under
so that means
influence.
that the people, as of today, there are
And it's
DNA and genetically you can identify, then the father should be held responsible. Right? So it's as simple as that, that if you have taken advantage of the other part, there are already laws around this, that if you take advantage of somebody else when they are incapacitated to make a decision, then you are held, or you should be held responsible. You don't need to bring in more laws over top of the laws that already exist. For example, if there is already a law that if you hurt somebody or if you kill somebody, you should be held accountable for the murder. Now, whether you kill the person by throwing them on the roof, or by knife, or by gun, or by whatever means, the law is still the same. You don't need to bring in more laws saying that if you kill the person in this situation, then this law applies.
there are, like, if you're killing in
Yeah, I know.
self-defense or
That's where the complication
intention.
happens.
Yeah,
That is,
intention. You were just pushing around and the
self-defense,
person,
that then all the
it was
complications
all,
become, because now,
yeah,
you are actually, what is happening is that the government is providing more and more loopholes that the
escape,
lawyers can use
to escape. Yeah. Or to harass
in
their
your
own family
advantage,
or extortion of family. Yes.
whatever, right? So,
Mhm.
so it is, it is not an easy answer to law versus justice. I think, the um, my opinion still is that the laws, the more the laws you have, and I am aligning to what Lao Tzu said, that the more laws you have, the more corrupt society you create.
The only law which I believe, in my humble opinion, should be followed of Mother Nature, who's pretty strict and she knows how to reconcile.
You know that
But
there's um, one of my favorite quotes by one of my favorite author, Robert A. Heinlein. He says,
he's a
natural laws
genius.
have no pity.
Yes. And
So
it's
do you think, no, so you are saying that's the way it should be? No pity?
no pity, and it's same for everyone. If a common man
Yes.
or a Ambani, they are falling
Or whatever, yeah.
from the
The
roof,
richest of
yeah.
the richest and the poor of the
Poor
poor.
of the poor is the law of gravity is same for everyone. Both of them will be
Yes.
hurt in the same manner.
Yes,
So yes,
exactly. So will be the
closing.
85-year-old person versus a 5-year-old child.
Ouch. Okay. Closing comments from your side, Rajiv.
So, I would highly encourage, this is one of the book I read,
The law.
The Law by Frederic Bastiat. See, I read this, I don't know, decades ago, but it is in my library. And I want to read this statement by Frederick. And so he says, it is impossible to introduce into society a greater change and a greater evil than this: the conversion of the law into an instrument of plunder.
Very well said. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Do visit our website, thelielama.com, THELIELLAMA.com. Like, share, subscribe. Do let us know if you want to come on our show. We'll be more than happy to host you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.